Hello from the Yarn Closet in Tucson, Arizona. I am podcasting just on a whim because I like to do it once a week. I didn't think I'd get to it this week because the kids are off of school for 11 days and I thought there's no way I'm going to be sane throughout that. And I've been happily surprised. So I am doing a little enjoyable garter stitch shawl with some odds and ends. This is a Yowza, I think something having to do with zombie prom maybe. This is an old castaway from Stranded Dye Works, Amy Florence. I love her stuff. One of the really exciting things that I did over this week so far is rearrange. So this area used to be the yarn closet. It's a little area tucked away in off my kitchen where there's a fireplace. This is very common in Tucson. We have a fake warmth generating electric fireplace in there. But a lot of the kitchens have these little fireplace rooms and people set them up as a family room. That has always annoyed me. So I swapped it out. And I love it. And the kids love it. So then here's the kitchen. My cabinets were Crayola red when we moved in. It's, I think, why we got a deal on the house. And then this was the dining room space. And I've moved my stuff over here for the Yarn Closet. I am the Yarn Closet Facebook page, Yarn Closet Arizona on Instagram and Ravelry, and there is a Yarn Closet group on Ravelry. One more member and I'm sending out a prize to a random drawer. And yes, I send out a lot of prizes because why not? Yarn tubes are pretty cool these days, but I think a lot of people don't get to touch them. So see, there's the living room. And so I was always so separate from the kids and the dogs and the family that now I've taken over what used to be the dining room. Here is Lewis, lovely little Lewis, my little nook in the corner. She works willingly with her hands. And then here is the yarn. And yeah, this is actually, that's it. That's it. There's a little bit of acrylic stuff in a closet because that's where we keep the yarn closet. And those little craftsy yarns that I got that I have sweater quantities of that I'm just not sure about, I have not caked those up, so I still just have them in a bin in a closet. But I'm desperately trying to figure out my holiday knitting scenario. But I'm having too much fun just cranking some tubes and sending them off to people. You may have heard Levi talking on WTF Knitting. I sent him some tubes for giveaway. And he loved them, and I thought that was great. And I'll probably send him more. And he loves Sadie, my big poodle. But I'm trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do? Because I'm not in the zone. So I'm thinking I'm going to take this yarn and this sparkly, and I'm going to turn this into a sock tube knit scarf. Because I think it'll be long enough, especially for a kid. And this is a cashmere, an MCN. It's a color from Darn Yarn, Minnesota. And I'm also thinking about doing a really long, this is just some knit picks.
Mom, I found lots of seashells.
Cool, baby, let's see. Lots and lots. Were those all in with the rocks?
Yeah, and me and Daddy found them. I found one, and Daddy found lots, and I
Daddy found this one.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. So I have some knit picks, purple, black purple, and this green. I've got 2 skeins and there's some purple in it. So I'm thinking I could do a really long scarf with that. And then here are some additional yarns. Knit picks. This one is Darn Yarn Minnesota, another MCN. And this one I think is a hippo from Lolo Did It, but I've lost the tag. So I'm going to do some more tubes for sending off to various people because it has been asked why. Why? Why not? Not everybody can afford a sock machine. And although there are services where you can send them your yarn, pay the fee, and then have it sent back, which Freckled Whimsy does, and she is fabulous. Her attention, she's had a machine for years and years, so she is wonderful. I am not. I am new. I am legally blind. I do the best I can, but I'm certainly no pro. But I do think it's nice to share with people. And like I have said before, if you want to have friends, you have to be a friend. And that's what I'm trying to do. Just being a friend, sharing some of the love, so that the day that I get to go to Rhinebeck or Needles Up or an Ann Bud retreat or something, I might know some people. I might already have some of those connections in the community, and that will make it so much more enjoyable for me and easier. People say hello to me frequently, and I'm like, oh, hi. I don't know who it is. Unless they actually say something or enough that I recognize their voice or that they've got a unique look, I may not get who I'm interacting with. And that's just not the same as knowing somebody. I have to be really close to get facial expressions unless you use your body. So it takes a little bit away from life and friendships and whatnot. Oh my goodness. Honey, you're gonna be fine. It was just a grapefruit. I know, the dog food's in the corner. Have a bite, it'll make you feel better. Magnus is a stress eater. Say hi, Sadie. Hi, Sadie. Say hi to Levi. Say hi, Levi. So Sadie's the big black poodle. She is a small standard. She's from a show line, but she was a little too small to show. And she was my trained guide dog, worked for many, many years. And little tiny Chip is a black and white poodle from Tea Party Poodles of River Falls, Wisconsin. And when you've got a 2-color poodle, they're called a party poodle. I love my poodles. My grandma raised poodles for a number of years, and they're just fabulous. They just kept me company when I was young. I was a preemie and sick, and so my poodles were always my buddies. And I do miss working with Sadie because she was really well trained. Tucson is a place where there are a lot of service animals of various kinds, and what I have found is many of them are not well trained, or many of the people using them are not maybe as capable or as well trained to control them, because although you're using the dog, you're still the one in control. There were times where I would tell Sadie, okay, go this way, go that way, and she would just sit down and refuse. That is called intelligent disobedience. And every single time I listened to her, she was right. She knew that I was about to walk into a hanging plant that I didn't see, or she knew that Grandpa had parked his car in a different area and she was taking me to the right car, and I was going in the wrong direction. It was amazing, and I love the really good service animals for that reason. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole because this is about yarn and I'm going to get to more yarn. But she's a doll. And the one fun thing is she may not look great right now because every once in a while I will groom her. It's like having your own sheep. Oh my gosh. Because it's like grooming a sheep. It's so thick, it's so crazy. And then every few months I have the groomer who comes to the house and does like the real job and makes her pretty and fluffy and happy and does the stuff that I won't do, like trying to shave between their fingers. Oh my God, and their pads. Who wants to do that? I am not doing that. So anyway, I'm working on another Anguli cowl. It's in the other room. See the other room through there that I used to be in? This one has a little different light, so I think it makes things a bit odd, but it's a better light for me. It's not as glary. The other room has a couple of skylights, which are very popular here for kitchens and bathrooms. So really you don't have to use a lot of light. And you may notice the brick. I live in a brick house that's called slump block. Do you see how these bricks are really, really long? That's where it ends. And then there's another one. Do you see how they're really long? They're called slump block. So that's my exterior walls. And I have 3 or 4 interior walls made of slump block. We ended up putting in carpet when we moved here. It's mostly tile, sometimes faux wood. There's not a ton of windows, but the way that these older houses built out of slump block are designed with a lot of ceiling fans. Initially, when they were designed, people didn't have AC, and most places they didn't even have dryers. So you really got a nice cross ventilation in the way it was sent up with the ceiling fans and the windows. A lot of people keep their drapes completely shut during the hot summer season here. It freaks me out. You know, I had a mom that was like, in the morning, you open all the blinds, you turn on all the lights, you get cheerful. And so it's really different here. What I do is I use shears in between my heavier drapes so I can close them more if it is really hot, because it is hotter now than it was 50 years ago. The average temps have gone up. And because of my sensitivity to extreme light, I have what's called ocular albinism, so I don't have enough pigment in my retinas. So if I get too much light in, that's what's making things blurry. Oh yeah, for new viewers, I'm legally blind. I try to bring it up frequently because if the picture's not good or whatever, I don't know that I could tell. I do the best I can, and I hope everyone can just bear with me. And I am simply doing this because I want to be a part of the community. When I became pretty much housebound from the blindness, we lived in the country. This wasn't really a thing. It was 10, 15 years ago. And it was lonely. And now that we have this, and even though I live a half mile from my kids' school and my church, and I have these little electric mobility carts, 3-wheel tricycle things, so I can get there and I can get to CVS, it's still not the same. I'm still not going out to lunch with my girlfriends, and I'm still not taking my own packages to the post office. I want to give a shout out to my stepdad for mailing all my stuff and being so gracious and good at that. And so I try to use this medium, and I try to point out to people whatever, because I don't want to irritate people. And I do see, and this is, my daughter made that for me. And then my son made this for me. See? And then these, oh my gosh, see this? My dad made this when he was in high school, this actual shelfie thing. And these were all my grandma's teacups. And she died at almost 101 years old. She was born in 1899. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I go off on tangents, and if you manage to get me past about 15 minutes, it means that somebody's entertaining the children, because I have very little, that's Magnus eating. I have very little attention span past that. Also, I think why no sweater has actually happened other than a baby sweater. Look at these. Aren't these cool? So these were tubes I did out of a sport weight yarn on the sock machine, and I hung the hem. So it's just folded over and seamed, but I can do that on the machine. And then I just unraveled the toe and did an afterthought toe and an afterthought heel. And I went for an extra stitch on each side, which definitely worked. And I think I'm going to do that again, even more. So maybe an extra 2 stitches. Because that fits much better, and it just worked really well. And someday I will get the heels mastered on the machine and be able to crank out a pair of socks in, under 2 hours, which I'm excited about. Because tile floors here are really cold, and the reason that I wear a lot of socks. My friend at school is having a baby, so I am covering a lot of her librarian hours, which is quiet, and there's a fair amount of downtime, so I am able to knit at work. And I do give one-on-one knit lessons, crochet lessons to kids at school. So they let me do it during those hours. So I hope over November and December that I'm able to finish a kid's sweater. My plan is to do a circular knit top-down raglan in a kid's size, in hopes that it will give me the understanding of the construction so I can do it in a grown-up size for me. I really do want to knock out some fingering weight items. Hey, can you go lay down, my love? I know, I love you. Can you lay down? Lay down. I'm podcasting, Magnus. Sit. So the funny thing is, when I snap my fingers like that, they do actually sit. And that was a way that Sadie was trained. And Magnus picked up on it when we all became a married family. My husband and I have only been married for about 4.5 years. But it is kind of funny how the dogs have all kind of influenced each other and learn their different tricks and trainings. Yeah, I know. And for all of you who are wondering, yes, Magnus is a pit bull boxer mix. Go on. And he's a lovely dog and has always been nothing but lovely with my daughter. He sounds a little scary, but Sadie sounds scarier. She's got this big husky man bark. And our actual true man about dogs is little tiny 10-pound Chip. But I love them because they're always willing to love or be loved, and it's a good part of life. So apparently I need to get cranking today. And thank you so much for Levi. I'm so glad you are enjoying the dogs and the kids and the crazy mom life in Tucson, Arizona. And yes, the desert does look crackled when you're actually in just the desolate areas, but you would be shocked at how many people have grass here. And then it's always funny because people will ask, well, do you have a winter grass or do you have a summer grass? Because some people like us, we've got grass in our backyard for winter, so it blooms in the winter. We have a grass covered yard section in the winter because I like the weather when it's colder. And 70 in Tucson is chilly. And so the kids get out and they play. But during the summer, we let it go dormant. So we have more of a dirt yard section. Because who's going to go out and play in 110 degrees anyway? And it would cost an arm and a leg in water to water it during the time when it's not raining. And the rain really is limited here to about 2 seasons a year, and you don't get a lot. So those are just funny things. And I do find Tucson funny because I'm from Minnesota. Minnesota, you know, originally, and I often marvel at how different it is to raise kids here than where I grew up and how different things are from the weather, the lack of seasons. Because there's really only 2, maybe 3. But I am getting into the groove